What's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty here on NCAA 06, featuring that next mod, of course, as we are starting to close out year number 4 here of the FCS Dynasty. We got some great action here as well throughout this episode. It's going to be a good one here, man, so make sure you go ahead, smack that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand spanking new to the channel. We will jump right into it. The first of 8 games that you will see on the channel here tonight. We got Nicholls State going on the road to take on the Citadel, as both teams do have outside chances of making the FCS playoffs. And how about that to start this episode? You don't see that every day. Frederick McNair with a behind-the-back pitch. I thought that was going to be a surefire fumble and turnover, but we do not see that here. Although, you know, sometimes it's best not to push your luck, as Frederick McNair, the junior custom, tries it again and does end up turning the football over. And not only does he turn the football over, the Citadel is going to run it all the way back to the crib, and it's going to be good for an 88-yard touchdown. As the Citadel going to take an early 7-0 lead, but Deuce Randolph is going to make a big-time play for the Colonels. Picks up yet another fumble that Frederick McNair has. And then after that, it became a numbers game. Once he picked up the fumble, nobody was around to catch him, and that boy was gone like a girl in a country song. So Nicholls State does come back out on top. They do have a 10-7 lead, as now the Citadel tries to get back into this football game. They do force a punt, but the problem is they did not secure said punt without a fair catch. So now Nicholls State, they will take over at about the 14-yard line, as they've been really good in the red zone this year. McNair trying to add on to it. It's going to stiff arm a defender into the next direction. Somebody call Derrick Henry, because that was downright dirty and downright impressive. Poor linebacker never had a chance. And Nicholls State does extend their lead a little bit. 17-7 now going to be your score. But Scott Dixon trying to rally his boys back out. Gonna get a nice throw in over the middle of the field, and it's gonna be a red zone chance for the Bulldogs to make this a 1-score game. Dixon looking towards the end zone, throws it up, and it's gonna be caught. Touchdown, the Citadel, as the Bulldogs are going to be barking right back. Just a field goal game that we are going to witness before we go into halftime. But now they have to give the ball back to Nicholls State to begin the second half. We'll see if they got that dog in them still, and it looks like it might actually not be the case, as we got a man running away down the sideline, and he is going to pull away, and he is gonna be gone. Touchdown, Nicholls State, and that is a big-time return, going for 92 yards on that one. And Nicholls State reestablishes that 2-possession lead, and that is really conducive for this option offense. But Frederick McNair, he's got some capabilities to throw the football downfield. He's going to take one of those chances, and it actually gets caught one-on-one in the secondary, and his guy is actually going to come down with it. They were sucked in by that option attack that I was talking about. Opens up the downfield opportunity, and Frederick McNair, the junior, took advantage of it as they look to go 3 for 4 in the red zone. Only exception being a turnover in the first quarter, as McNair does another option, gets it out to the right-hand side. He's going to pitch it out, but they are going to award a touchdown. Before that, they might give that to McNair or the custom running back Deuce Randolph. Either way, that will count for a nice touchdown. 34-14 now going to be your score, as the Citadel just looking to get back into this game by any means necessary. But that was actually almost an interception. So now everyone's favorites, Road to Glory wide receiver Mike Ostrander, he's going to have to punt this football away. And it's actually a nice little punt, don't get me wrong, but Deuce Randolph, he is also a certified player, as he's going to get yet another touchdown. This time, he's so darn comfortable, he's going to high step his way into the end zone as well. And Nicholls State really proving that they are better than what their record has shown. A huge lead for the Colonels, and they are going to add on to it here late in the fourth quarter. Fullback gonna get involved. That's Mr. Carter. Tell me how you've been. Well, I bet he's feeling pretty darn good. He extends the lead to over 30 points. And y'all already know what time it is. It is barbecue chicken time out here on the Citadel's field. They got ran out of their own building today, and you absolutely hate to see it. Nicholls State gets their 4th win of the season. They get the 4-5 after a very convincing lead. They get 50 plus points in this game. That's a high for them on the season. Whereas the Citadel still has a shot to get above 500, but with a loss like this late in the season, it might be over in terms of their chances to make the FCS playoffs here in year number 4. And, you know, it is what it is. But we jump into a team that has some real FCS playoff inspirations. James Madison. We haven't checked in on them in a while, but they are currently number 13 in the entire country, and they are taking on a team that has its back against the wall right now. South Carolina State. They're not ranked in the top 25, but a win against them would put South Carolina State in the top 25 and therefore make them a legitimate option for an at-large berth into the FCS playoffs. So this is a big game for both teams, and David Foreign, he understands the heat of the moment, but even though he got that big gain, he also puts the ball on the ground though. 35 yards was his reception, but South Carolina State is able to get that ball loose, and that fumble is going to be recovered by the Bulldogs. So a little bit of a slow start here for the offenses, but late in the first quarter, Marcus Bryant is going to get the scoring going, as he is going to take a rare carry right up the middle of the field, and that's going to be good for a touchdown for the James Madison Bulldogs, as they are going to duke it out here early. They're going to extend that lead. And it seems like early on, James Madison is going to take the game by the horns, and they are going to dominate. Bryant with another reception out of the backfield. How about this? You want to talk about wanting it? That is pure desire. Another touchdown, and Marcus Bryant, he had to run through some people in order to make this happen. I mean, we got to check out this replay real quick, and the game is blessed enough for us to make that happen. Bryant had to get around that linebacker, which is not an easy thing to do, but then a bunch of South Carolina State defenders came through, and yet it didn't matter though. He wanted that touchdown more. So the Bulldogs, they are in serious trouble as they are getting outdogged by James Madison. McDougal trying to throw a quick out route in order to get an easy first down, get into rhythm. But there is not a lot of rhythm to the South Carolina State offense early, as not only is that pass going to be intercepted, it's going to be taken back all the way to the crib as well. That's going to be another touchdown for South Carolina State's opponent. That makes it 24-0. McDougal trying to make something happen, and that is one way to get back into this game. You got to make up for it by getting some big plays downfield, and that's exactly how you got to get it in there. Huge play there for McDougal. We'll see if he's got another one in him, or he's going to hand off to Jason Shaw, who does a number of sidestepping and going to find his way into the end zone himself. A touchdown for South Carolina State, and that does end up meaning that the Bulldogs, they're going to be right back into this game. Now, they will go ahead. They will attempt a 2-point conversion, which is good, but they got to find a way to stop James Madison, though. Less than 2 minutes left in the first half. Looking over to the right-hand side, but it's going to be intercepted and taken down the sideline. Touchdown, Bulldogs. And that is exactly what they needed to get back into this game. That should certainly give them some momentum here in the closing stages of this first half. It cuts it to a 2-possession game, and it will really help if Stephen Rogers, you know, if he throws another interception or another turnover. That would really help South Carolina State take a ton of momentum into that halftime locker room. We'll see if that actually happens or not, as Rogers does face some significant pressure, but then he throws one right on the money to the sophomore, Brad Andrauzi. And Andrauzi, he's almost going to get a very nice touchdown, only 68 yards. We are almost to that perfect number, but a touchdown is still a touchdown, and that means still going to count 6 points, even though it's not the coveted 69-yard score and a 34-15 lead. Now, South Carolina State does end up going 3 and out, but then Stephen Rogers getting a little bit aggressive before the end of the first half, and it backfires terribly. He puts the ball on the ground once again, and one of those hog mollies, those big boys, they are going to fall on the fumble. He stays on his feet, and while not the most athletic person on the face of the universe, it's back to a 2-score game. So South Carolina State, they are certainly not done yet, especially after the run that Jason Shaw gets, breaking through some tackles and is in the end zone. Touchdown, Bulldogs. And South Carolina State, fighting for their FCS playoff lives, they get a huge play from the best player that is on this offense. He was, at least in the early going on the season, he was on that Heisman watch. You don't sleep on that Jason Shaw now, as South Carolina State tries to eke back into this game, but fourth quarter comes around, still down by 10 points, and Benelli, he might have slammed the door shut. His 4th interception of the season, just reading the eyes of the quarterback. It also might have been a case where it might have been a little bit off target, so we'll see what James Madison does. I expect him to run this football, kill as much of this clock as possible, but they decide to go play action as well. Stephen Rogers throws left, and that's going to be intercepted down the sideline. Able to make a man miss. Can Kevin Crum catch him down? And it looks like it's going to be an emphatic no. Touchdown, South Carolina State. And the Bulldogs, they are not done yet. There is still a lot of fight left in this football team. And with 45 seconds left, a chance to win this game, potentially throwing over the middle, and it's going to be caught. They're already going to be on the very edge of field goal range. Now, do they go for the field goal, or do they go for it all, risk all the marbles, and after a couple attempts, they will attempt a 47-yard field goal in order to tie this game, send it to overtime. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get overtime here in the ACC. James Madison, they're going to be put on that upset alert now. Watch out, as we will need more than 4 quarters to decide who is going to win this game between South Carolina State and the Dukes of James Madison. So now, overtime coming through, and this is the first overtime possession for South Carolina State. McDougal's going to drop back on a 2nd and 20, and it's going to be another turnover. The 3rd interception that McDougal has thrown in this game, and I kid you not, it might be the most devastating of the turnovers that he has all day. You got to find a way to come away with points on your overtime drives. And instead of doing that, all James Madison needs to do, hit this field goal, and you're going to win the football game. 45-yard field goal attempt to win the pick. It is in the air, and it's going to be good. And that means James Madison, they will survive, as the Dukes will get to 8-2 on the season. This was an extremely exciting football game. I really thoroughly enjoyed every single moment of it, but it will not be enough, as South Carolina State, they will have a very heartbreaking loss. And listen, this was one of those games where you really love to win out of the purity of the emotions, but you want to talk about an emotional low when you drop a game like this. We'll see how South Carolina State recovers, because now they're going to be at 6-4. But we do have a top 25 matchup that we got going here in the noon slate. We got number 21 Western Carolina, Kentucky, going on the road to take on the Samford Bulldogs in this Big Ten matchup. Samford comes in number 24 in the nation. They would be on the very edge of the at-large bid pool, but Samford is also in the running to win that conference championship race. They're sitting at 5-1 as of right now, and a win for Samford would keep them alive. But Western Kentucky, they need this game as well. Western Kentucky sitting at number 21. They would also sit on the bubble in this at-large pool, so it could be a de facto play-in game for the FCS playoffs. You truly never know, but what we do know as we will get this third game of this episode officially underway, and Samford is going to start with the football down the sideline, got some space, but then puts the ball on the ground before he can get himself out of bounds, and it's Western Kentucky that gets great field position instead of the Samford Bulldogs. And Western Kentucky is going to make him pay for it. Gamura Potter is going to hand it off to his trusty running back, who's able to find his way through the holes of the secondary, and Western Kentucky strikes first. They will get their very first points of this football game. Now, Gamura Potter later on in the game, after a Samford 3 and out, we're going to see a little bit of auction work. And how about this? I didn't realize that we were going to be in a Drake song, because this running back going to go back to back. Yet another touchdown on the board, and the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky on the road is going to start strong. This is exactly how they need to play. Western Kentucky is a run-heavy team, and when they're ahead by multiple scores, the game script really works their way. As Ashton Hines trying to desperately to make something happen here, he is going to get a big gain downfield, a 25-yard rush. And one more underrated dual threat quarterbacks that we do have here in the FCS Dynasty. We'll see if he can lead a touchdown drive once again. A couple plays later, it's 3rd and long. Hines facing some pressure, but he's going to be dropped in the backfield as Ben Bennett's able to bring him down. That will force the punt team to come down. James Franklin, not to be confused with the current head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions as of the recording of this video, as that ball is going to be up in the air. It's a decent punt, but where is the kick return coverage? Because Jose Claudio San Martin, one of your guys' customs, the sophomore, really doing them dirty, especially on this other one as well. We'll see if he's still out there returning kicks, and sure enough, he is. He might have a second return touchdown. He will get it because there is no flags on the field, and that will be a 28-0 lead. You could hear a squirrel fart in this stadium right now. We'll see what Samford is made of in terms of dealing with this adversity, because they could easily be ran out of the building, but it's up for them to decide if they're going to fight back, or are they just going to pack it in, not only on this game, but it could be their season on the line as well. Surely a blowout loss this late will not help it with an at-large bid. 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line after a big completion. Hines dropping back. He's going to run it. He might find his way into the end zone. He fights for it, and he's going to get it as well. Touchdown, Samford, has Ashton Hines able to find his way in, and that will at least remove the goose egg off the scoreboard. But still a very daunting task to come back. They got to find a way to make up this gap and make it up as quickly as possible so that they have some time to, take the win out of the jaws of defeat. We'll see if Ashton Hines can lead yet another touchdown drive here before the end of the first half. 1st and goal from the 2-yard line. Throws one up in the back of the end zone, and it does end up being caught. Touchdown, Samford. And that does potentially cut to a 2-possession game. Now they will go for the 2-point conversion. They are not successful, but what's beneficial to Samford, they did not get the ball to start the second half, but they did come out of the second half at least getting a stop on defense. Problem is, Ashton Hines turns the football over once again. Mark Motley able to read the eyes of the quarterback. He's going to get a big interception. That will at least keep Samford at bay. But there's just a sneaky feeling that, if Western Kentucky stops their scoring outright, that Samford can still creep their way back into this football game. And, Western Kentucky does get a field goal. We'll see if that is enough. Hines dropping back again, looking over the middle of the field. He throws one up, and how about that time? Throwing it up in the air. and just right over the outstretched arms of the corner. Able to bring the tackle right away, but still gives up a massive gain, as it's now 1st and 10 from the 45-yard line. Hines throws one up in the air, gets it out, and it's going to be completed. And Hines gets another score on the board. Here comes the Samford Bulldogs trying to will themselves back into this game. Hines throwing it on the run too. Oh my goodness, doing this secondary dirty in the second half. The Western Kentucky's offense, they're getting cold, so that opens the door for Samford now in the final seconds of the third quarter. Western Kentucky's going to go punt this football away. It is up in the air. It does end up being caught cleanly. Down the sideline, there's nobody. Right in front of him, he's going to be gone like a girl in a country song as he high steps his way into the end zone. Now you can feel the emotions of this football game. Down by just one possession, and we go right into the fourth quarter. Can Samford complete a historic comeback? They were down by 28. They were dead in the water, but now a chance to tie this game. Makes the man miss. He now has open space. Can he beat the punter? Yes, he does. And he's gone. He's going to high step into the end zone once again, and it's yet another touchdown. You literally cannot make this up. A 71-yard score, and we got ourselves a tie ball game here once again. 4:39. Can Western Kentucky turn it back on? Gamura, he's going to try to run out of the pocket, but he puts the ball on the ground himself. And this time, it's the defense that comes through with another touchdown. And who could have seen this coming? Down by 28. It was 28-0, and Samford now has the lead. Gamura looking to try to get anything going, but yet another fumble on the ground. It ends up once again being recovered by the Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky. Just a big time play once again by this defense. And Samford, all of a sudden, it just has this feeling they can score again. They can put the dagger. Do they have enough in the gas tank? Hines gonna drop back. It's a play action. He's got some time. Throws over the middle of the field and throws one on a dime. Touchdown, Samford. And Ashton Hines with yet another surgical strike. As the Samford Bulldogs, they are going to most likely win this football game. And not only are they going to win after the start that they had, they put up a 50-burger. Are you kidding me right now? It really reminds me of that Chiefs-Texans game in the playoffs back when Deshaun Watson was on the Texans, where they had that big start, and then Bill O'Brien, he just fumbles the bag. Felt like that was exactly what happens. Now, we'll see if Western Kentucky can recover enough to sneak back into the FCS playoff picture, but after a loss like that, I don't know. But a big-time win by Samford to keep themselves alive in the conference championship hunt. So we check in on our first studio update of this episode, and we start with Georgia Southern. The Eagles go on the road to take on the Wofford Terriers, and they do what they're supposed to do in conference play, winning 38-17, which puts Georgia Southern at 10-0 and in a prime position to get a top 8 bye into the FCS playoffs. But now we get ourselves a little bit later into the day where we run into our FCS game of the week. We got number 7 North Dakota State making the trip to PGE Park to take on the number 6 ranked team in the nation, the Portland State Vikings. You can see what's in stake with the conference standings that just came across your board right now. These teams tied for first place in the Pac-10. Whoever wins this game, they would end up controlling their destiny occasionally in terms of winning that automatic bid to the FCS playoffs. So both teams want to win this in the biggest way possible so that they're not sweating it out on Selection Sunday. And Lee Corso actually going to be rolling with Portland State. We'll see if the Bison take that to heart. As we'll see North Dakota State, their first drive of the game. They're actually going to throw it up in the air, and it's caught. But it's caught by the opposing team, though. So a rare throw by North Dakota State, and it ends up being intercepted by Daryl Thompson. You literally could not make this up in any shape or form. And so, Portland State, their defense holds out initially, but we know what North Dakota State is also capable of doing. And Ken Anderson is going to make him pay for it. He's going to get the scoring going here in this game of the week. A 40-yard touchdown just following the blocks. And listen, Portland State, they had some guys up in the box to try to stop that run. But unfortunately, what it does is if they can get past the box, it's going to open up some big plays downfield. And that's exactly what's happening, especially when Jerry Rice III, that's a true freshman, by the way, haven't said his name much all season. Again, they don't pass the football very often here in North Dakota State, but we do see them take a big lead as it's now 14-0. And Portland State's just having a hard time getting their offense going. Ryan Otis can't hold his block, so his running back is absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree. So the initial advantage going to the Bison. We'll see if Pierre can lead his team down the field. Dropping back, faces a pressure, run away, and gets it out to his receiver. Receiver able to run away from a couple of defenders, though, and we got ourselves a very interesting football game now. Pierre able to throw on the crosser, and his receiver does the rest of the work. That's a touchdown for the Portland State Vikings. And all of a sudden, a minute left in the first half, they have a chance to go ahead and make this a tie ball game. Throws it up. It's caught in double coverage. Throws it right in a spot, and Pierre is absolutely feeling himself right now. 5 consecutive completions. And it's going to lead it into a goal line situation. 2 yards separating them from tying this game. Pierre, play action, got some time, throws it up, and it's caught. Touchdown, Portland State. And going into halftime, it's all knotted up. Second half now, Portland State, they will start with the football, but unfortunately, we do get a big-time turnover, courtesy of the Bison defensive line. They were able to collapse in on Pierre, nowhere left to escape, and just did not see him coming. So Bison do end up getting a field goal out of that. They will take the lead, and it will make it 17-14 your score, as we do have another fumble on the field. But look at this, another rare scoop and score for the offense. Are you kidding me right now? Hey man, sometimes it's simply better to be lucky than it is to be good, and that was sheer luck. But I'm sure Portland State is not going to complain whatsoever. They will take the lead here late in the third quarter. It's a 4-point lead for the Vikings. And North Dakota State, man, they're put in a tough spot. They got to get some big plays themselves. Otherwise, we could be looking at a Portland State victory. That would be a huge step for this football program. A program, by the way, that has not made an FCS playoff appearance yet. They're having their best season in this entire series. But now they need to clutch up. First and goal from the 7. Purcell throws to the left, but it's going to be intercepted. It's going to be picked off in Portland State. That's exactly what they need to do. Their defense clutches it up in the goal line. And the Vikings, they still have a lead. They're hanging on by a thread, but they are still going to be ahead as they try to get it out to Ken Anderson, but was all over it like cheese on macaroni. Although Portland State couldn't take advantage of the turnover, it's still a 1-score game. Purcell, bunch of time to throw it, gets it out into the open field. It's John Weeks, the sophomore wide receiver, who's able to make a big catch himself, able to find the soft spot in the coverage. And now North Dakota State threatens on the 40-yard line. Anderson takes the carry. He's going to make a man miss initially, and then he's going to be off to the races on his way to the end zone, and it's a touchdown for the Bison. So a back and forth affair, and it is certainly living up to the game of the week hype. How about that block as well by Rod Montez? He got that block that solidified that touchdown. That's how you make an effort on offense. So now Portland State down by a field goal, looking to get it out to his favorite receiver, Ryan Otis, who's been pretty quiet in this football game. And unfortunately, it looks like it is going to be intercepted. And unless they can keep them out of the end zone on this upcoming possession, this could very well be barbecue chicken, the dagger, as the kids call it. We'll see if Purcell can deliver. 3 minutes left in the game. Purcell drops back. He's got all the time in the world. Gonna throw over to left-hand side, but it's intercepted. Not only is it intercepted, he's got a clear space to the end zone. Anderson, can he catch him? He cannot in time. And Chris Turner just gave Portland State the lead with less than 3 minutes left to play in the football game. I literally cannot make this up. A back and forth affair. So now, the Bison up against the wall. They got to score a touchdown themselves. Can they deliver? Anderson comes through with that big-time run right there. He's having himself a day. 180 yards on the ground. He has been a North Dakota State offense for the most part, and he has lived up to those expectations since being a freshman. He's been starting since freshman year, and now he's a 3-year starter. But unless they convert this first down conversion, looks like Portland State's going to win this game. Purcell with possibly the play of the game. It's up in the air, and it's going to be LaRon Montez who comes down with it, not only for the first down, but for a critical touchdown. That will mean North Dakota State, they will win the football game in exciting and heart-stopping fashion. The Bison of North Dakota State, they will now control their destiny in terms of winning this conference yet again. They're looking for their 4th title in 4 years, and it looks like Portland State, they are just in absolute disbelief. That's a tough pill to swallow. Portland State had them right where they wanted them, 4th and long, and congrats to Purcell, able to find a way to make it happen regardless, and it looks like North Dakota State will win the game. But that is not the only top 25 matchup that we do have going down, though, as we check on 2 teams that are not necessarily eligible for the FCS playoffs this year. Remember, both of these teams are under NCAA sanctions, but this is the last year that they're going to be in NCAA sanctions, so there's that. They will be both eligible for the playoffs here in year number 5. But that being said, though, we are going to hop in Texas Southern, who's ranked number 19 in the country, and Western Carolina, who's a similar ranking. They're ranked number 14 in the entire nation, and someone who I'm really excited to see, Roderick Murray. He is an exciting running back to watch. He's already got 1,500 yards on this season. We'll see if he can run wild on this Western Carolina front 7. It's a pretty solid one. But Texas Southern, they're done hearing about the Catamounts. They got themselves some players too, and Michael Young just found that out the old-fashioned way. Gets absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree on Christmas Day, and Michael Young's going to cough at the football. He turns it over, but Texas Southern, they do not do anything with the football afterwards. So in spite of the fumble, we will still see a tied ball game. No one has scored as of yet, but the Catamounts are looking to change that up. Young under center on a 3rd and goal. He's going to throw it quickly out to the right-hand side. Finds his tight end. Wide butt naked open as well. And the Catamounts will draw the first blood of this top 25 matchup within the Big 12 Conference. And Texas Southern down by 7. Mayhew trying to target his star running back, but he does overthrow him. And David Powell is going to pounce on it. Another interception for what's really been a very nice season for him. That makes it interception number 5. And the Catamounts take over again. This time on the 33-yard line. Gets it out to the tailback, who gets it out to the corner. He's going to find the end zone. Touchdown, Catamounts. And a 33-yard score right off of the interception. And it looks like Western Carolina, them boys came to play today. I'll tell you what, they're trying to make their way to the conference championship themselves. Can't go to the playoffs, but they can still win a conference championship. That is in the cards for both of these programs, and that's what's at stake for both teams right now. As Adam Mayhew, he's going to have one of the better throws of this season for him. How about throwing that on a dime? Throw that to a spot, because there was not a lot of space to work with. You love to see that kind of effort from both teams, really. They understand the gravity of the moment. As Texas Southern, they could very well get themselves back into this football game. A muff punt provides a red zone opportunity for Texas Southern. Now, they do not score a touchdown. They do at least get a field goal, though. It makes it back to a one-possession game. As now we jump into the second half here. Michael Young looking to have a little bit better of a second half. This throw would help him. Throwing over the middle. He's finding his man down the sideline. He's got some space to work and finds the end zone. Touchdown, Catamounts. 24-10 your score, as Michael Young, who's just now starting to get back comfortable with the speed of the college game. He has been hurt for quite a while. Is now 24-10. As Young drops back again, looks to continue his great day that he's having. And this is another good throw for Michael Young, who's closing in on 200 yards passing. He's, like I said, having a solid day today. Nothing that's going to flash out the screen, but he is leading this offense pretty well. Back in the red zone, meanwhile, a second and short, so this could be play action territory. It is Michael Young dropping back, throws to the left-hand side, and finds his fullback for another touchdown. I told y'all that was prime time play action territory. That's exactly what we saw. And maybe I should be the coach of one of these schools, but you know what? I'm not someone that has a dog in the fight. I'm just a commentator. I'm just a messenger trying to bring some content to the people. You know, that's all I'm trying to do at the end of the day. But it does look like Western Carolina is getting ready to slam the door shut on Texas Southern's conference championship hopes, which was really the only major goal that both of these programs have, since, again, they can't go to the playoffs this year. They are under NCAA sanctions. And that fat lady, she might be singing right now. Another touchdown for the Catamounts, courtesy of the fullback dive. A little bit of not the expert action there, able to get that fullback dive in. And Western Carolina having a good year. They now get to 8-2 on the year. They will still have one more game left to play. And Texas Southern also having a solid year, 7-4. Even with this loss, still nothing to scoff at. Should keep both teams in the top 25. It's a shame that neither team is going to go to the FCS playoffs this year, because I'll tell you what, both of these teams, you know, if they were eligible and could get into the FCS playoffs, so it would have been a dangerous time for these other teams, because I think both teams could have been able to make a deep playoff run here in year number 4. But now we check in on a team that is actually eligible for the FCS playoffs this year, number 5 Southern, who we just saw what happened with Western Carolina. So a win by Southern would make sure that they keep this buffer that they have going on in conference play. But again, you know, nothing is promised in the world of college football, as the saying goes, any given Sunday, right? So we'll see what Southern is capable of, taking on a pretty good Arkansas Pine-Bluff team. Remember, early in the season in non-conference play, Arkansas Pine-Bluff, they got themselves a paycheck, and they beat Alabama. Can you imagine the talk on Twitter if that actually happened in real life? But starting out in this game, though, Justin Jones, the junior quarterback who was a former number 1 recruit, he's going to throw a strike into the end zone. And it's a nice touchdown. How about this throw? A lot of traffic in the red zone, especially when you get into those goal line sets. So you have to be precise when you throw that football. And that is exactly what Justin Jones is doing. But didn't do that every single time here. He does throw one deep down the field, looking like he was trying to get it out to one of his receivers. Might have been Trey Woods, but just left it short. And honestly, didn't do a very great job of reading the defense there. So, you know, you hate to see it. And Arkansas Pine-Bluff, all of a sudden, they can try to take the lead. As Niall Matthews, he's going to look over the middle, but he will be intercepted too. So turns out Justin Jones was playing 4-dimensional chess. It was an arm punt for him, and after the interception, Southern has even better field position. Took him a little longer instead of just driving the ball down the field like a normal offense, but, you know, you love to see the 4-dimensional chess, the strategy going on here in this series, as Jones leads his troops to the line, trying to get another touchdown. Going to the tailback pace, and he's going to pace his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Southern. And the Jaguars are going to once again extend their lead, 14-3, we'll jump into the fourth quarter as nothing crazy happens in this game, after the second, third quarter. But we do see yet another interception, trying to get it out to Zoo Animal, who plays both sides of the football, by the way. He's one of your guys' customs. Not only does he play corner, which is what his position is listed at, he also plays wide receiver, and it just didn't work out. What will work out, though, is the fullback dive for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. It does make it just a 5-point game. They will end up going for a 2-point conversion, but that is not going to be good. So now, Arkansas Pine-Bluff, instead of a field goal, they need a touchdown in order to win this game. And that's not going to happen. Nail Matthews is going to throw a costly interception. His second interception that he throws in this game. And with the amount of time that's left on the clock, it might be over, as he was staring down his tight end, and Hart was able to take advantage of it. Doesn't return it back to the crib. But what does end up happening is that even though this was a more defensive affair than I anticipated, both these offenses have shown to score quite a few points. Southern wins by only scoring 2 touchdowns. It was 14-9 as your final score. Not necessarily what we're used to seeing, but that is what we ended up getting. A low-scoring game, but Southern found a way to will it out. They get to 8-2, and that keeps them in the hunt for a first-round bye, as well as a berth into the conference championship as well. We'll see if Arkansas Pine-Bluff can bounce back. But with that being said, last game that we have here for the 3 o'clock slate before we check on some more scores around the FCS as well, we are going to watch Eastern Kentucky, number 8 in the country. They are at home, and they will play host to a team that was ranked in the top 25 when the preseason polls came out. But you want to talk about a candidate for most disappointing team? Youngstown State has to be on that list. 2-7 is their record. That is absolutely just disgusting what they have done this season. It is a tragedy, and it is a spit on the preseason polls of the top 25. This is a team that should be going to the FCS playoffs, but Youngstown State, that ship has sailed a few weeks ago. So best thing that they can do is they can try to play spoiler, see if they can stop Eastern Kentucky from winning a conference championship. And if you're going to pull the upset, this is how you're going to have to do it. You got to win the turnover battle. Sonny doing just that. A little bit of an overthrow, and coach is going to throw an interception there. Able to go downfield, get themselves a field goal, get on the board early. But you also got to find a way to stop Rose. Rose, he is a certified bad man. And we saw a glimpse of that right there. 63-yard touchdown. And Eastern Kentucky gets some more points on the board. They weren't down for long. They're going to retake the lead. And a lot of pressure being put on the quarterback, Osiah Jackson Jr. He needs to play well today. He needs to play out of his mind. And that's how you respond after Eastern Kentucky gets a score. You got to score too. You got to make the Colonels uncomfortable. And that's how you do it. Osiah with an absolute dime, by the way. If that was thrown a second later, that was going to be intercepted. And now Coates finds himself down, and he'll have to make a big play. And he does make a big play. Chris Vaughn able to get behind the defense. Another big touchdown catch as well, as that will mean Coates gives Eastern Kentucky the lead right back. It's going to be 14-13. It's a close one, as Osiah looking downfield. He wants to go for his receiver, but overthrows him. Chase Noonan with his third interception of his college career. You hate to see it if you're a Youngstown State guy, as it looks like Eastern Kentucky is poised to take over. In their I formation, they go to Rose, who breaks a tackle, gets away from a few more. How about this effort? Rose, stop it. Just stop it right now. 39-yard touchdown. He just ran through a wall, like a literal wall. Look at how many defenders he goes through. You can't teach that kind of effort. You either got it or you don't have it at all. And Rose gets it. He understands. He wants to win a conference championship for Eastern Kentucky once again. They are the defending conference champs, by the way. And Eastern Kentucky is going to get a 53-yard bomb as well. Coates delivers one on the money. And the Colonels are starting to pull away here in this game. 1st and 10 from the 50 after another failed possession from the Penguins. Rose, he's going to get the handoff. This time, he doesn't even have to run through everybody. He's just going to go into the end zone completely untouched. That's a 50-yard touchdown. Rose, just have yourself a day, young man. And you got to give kudos to the blocking, too. You love to see the effort. As it's now 35-13 your score. And Rose continues to pour it on. Yet another score for Eastern Kentucky. 42-13. This game was close most of the way through the second quarter. But when they came out of the halftime locker room, Rose decided that he was going to wake up. And yeah, he ended up choosing violence when he came out of the locker room. But, you know, still a little bit of time left. We've seen bigger comebacks in this episode alone. Remember, Samford came back from 28 to win their football game. Can Youngstown State, can they do the exact same thing? In the under center, Osaya, he's going to need to be perfect from here on out. He's going to face some pressure, though, and he doesn't even have time to get that off. Another sack for Eastern Kentucky. You saw the graphic. That's their 4th sack as a defensive unit in this game. They've been harassing Osaya Jackson in a big way. So now he's going to need that offensive line to step up again. Obvious passing situation. Gonna go for it all and drops it on a dime. Touchdown, Youngstown State. And his offensive line just providing just enough time to get that pass off. So now he's starting to find a rhythm. Here comes the Youngstown State Penguins. This is the glimpse of that top 25 team that we saw in the very beginning of the season. Jackson again dropping back, looks over the middle, and that's not what you wanted to look for. You cannot turn the football over if you're trying to come back and win a football game. You just can't have that happen. Just threw it right in the hands of Spencer. So now Eastern Kentucky, they got a chance to run out the rest of this clock. And they choose to pass the football when you have one of the best running backs in the country. Like, it should be rocket science, you guys. I hate it that these coaches overthink it sometimes. I mean, you're up by 25. Just run the football. It should not be that hard, but yet here we are barbecue on the titties. It actually might be that hard sometimes. And it almost gets returned back to the crib for a touchdown too. So, you know, Youngstown State, they could score quickly and maybe make this game a little bit interesting. As Jackson is hit as soon as he gets out of play action motion. Defender was simply not fooled. He went for a beeline towards the quarterback, as that is Robbie O'Brien. That is going to bring him down. And now a 3rd and long. Got to convert, and they will actually convert. Not just for a first down, but they're also going to get a touchdown as well. They don't go for the 2-point conversion. So it's 45-27, and although there is just not enough time to come back and win this football game, you really have to respect the fight that this Youngstown program has. They could have easily packed it in, especially when Eastern Kentucky really opened it up in the second half, but, you know, they made a manageable margin, just a 12-point loss, and if you're just box score watching, you think they would be competitive the whole game. So, you know, obviously y'all didn't see that. Y'all get a chance to actually watch the game for sure, but, you know, Eastern Kentucky, they win once again, and, you know, they keep their first big goal of the season still well in reach, a chance to repeat as the Big Ten Conference champions, as they're now 8-2. They're still a lock for the FCS playoffs, it seems like, and they could also potentially get a first-round bye with all of that as well. But now we get ourselves into another studio update here in the 3:30 slot. We start with the Ohio Bobcats as they remain in the hunt to go to the FCS playoffs. They win 23-20 against conference opponent Southern Illinois. They bolstered their record to 8-1 and put themselves in a good position to make that a reality. As for Kent State, they come in ranked number 23 in the nation. They went on the road to take on the Buffalo Bulls and able to outlast Buffalo 20-17 being that final score, with Kent State now being 7-2. But Utah State is going to continue its dominant stretch here in the regular season as Utah State is able to take down St. Thomas 49-21, looking like a virtual walk to be the number 2 team in the FCS playoffs this upcoming postseason. But we do have a surprising development though from the Big Sky Conference, as Weber State does get into the top 25 after their big win over Northern Arizona. But that top 25 trip will not last long though. They lose to Idaho State 24-14 as the Bengals get just their second win of the year. But the final game of this episode pits a top 10 team in Sacramento State going on the road to take on the Eastern Washington Eagles, who are not ranked in the top 25 as of right now. But that being said, they are still in play for a conference championship, sitting in 4-1 at league play. But we're going to get a battle of backup quarterbacks here to end this episode, as both Chase Hall, who's starting quarterback for Sacramento State, and then one of your guys' customs, and Carl Johnson-Fousen, they are both injured. So Dewar McNair of Sacramento State is going to get the start. And I don't even know who the Eastern Washington quarterback is, to be honest with you guys. But maybe we'll find out, as that is maybe an indication that we need to start paying attention to that particular quarterback. Because, man, that was on a dime. And Tama Maska, he's one of your guys' customs as well. True freshman. He was on him like cheese and macaroni and still found a way to give up that catch. But hey, he's going to get his revenge. He is actually going to get an interception off the deflection. So Maska gave up that big play downfield, but he's going to rally up. He's going to make a nice play in the end zone, and that will prevent Eastern Washington from scoring some points on the board early. So you absolutely love to see that. Deason will return as well. But after one quarter of play, we still do not have anyone that has scored in this game. This has been a defensive battle. Both teams struggling with their backup quarterback on the field. It's going to have to be a big play that might spark an offense, and we might get one here. Who's got that fumble? And Eastern Washington is going to recover the fumble. So that means Eastern Washington now is going to be on the move. Less than 2 minutes left in the first half. Looking over to the left-hand side, the tight end. He's got some movement, able to get across midfield. They were hampered by some penalties, and Campbell get him back on track. And now Eastern Washington is going to friend for the very first time. Dropping back again, looking over the middle of the field. It's thrown on a dime, and we finally get a red zone opportunity. Right in the middle of the field, Campbell comes down and makes a beautiful catch. And now the Eagles with a chance to get points on the board for a change, but they are certainly making it difficult as Bennett gets absolutely drilled in the backfield. But that will not stop Eastern Washington from getting into the end zone, and that is going to be a touchdown for the Eagles. That is a 5-yard run, and Eastern Washington finally gets on the board, and they continue to be the only team on the board. We jump late into the third quarter. Sacramento State still has not scored yet, but maybe this will spark their defense up a little bit. A surprising turnover on the 10-yard line. This is a layup for this offense. You got to find ways to score, and they only come away with a couple field goals. You know, it's been tough to see, and Dewar McNair also gets hurt. So this is actually the third-string quarterback, Adam Young, in the game. He's going to throw the football. They have to in this situation, down by a more than just a field goal, so you got to push that football downfield late. And Bonner takes advantage of the true freshman quarterback who was not expected to play this season. He was originally supposed to be redshirt, but because of the injuries that were happening at the quarterback position, Adam Young was pressed into service, and he did look like a true freshman at quarterback. I mean, it is what it is. So Eastern Washington, they had some quarterback issues as well, but they did a better job of dealing with that adversity. They are going to win 16-6, and they still very much control their own destiny to win this conference. They will have to play North Dakota State in next week's episode to decide that league championship title. So with all of the gameplay action taken care of, let's take a quick peek at some of the late night scores before we take a look into that Sports Illustrated magazine. And we'll start with Sam Houston State, who comes in number 11 after their recent loss to Nicholls State. They do bounce back in this one. They do beat Appalachian State. 40-23 is going to be your final score as the Cardiac Cats get themselves to 8-1 on the season. As for San Diego State, they locked themselves into the FCS playoffs with an impressive performance against the University of Missouri Kansas City. San Diego State wins 35-7 as the Aztecs will look to sneak their way into that first round bye range. Central Michigan also looking to solidify their playoff chances. This will certainly help them out a little bit as they do take care of business against their arch rival Western Michigan. The Chippewas win 34-31 as Central Michigan is now 7-2. As for Tennessee Martin, the Skyhawks, they will end up soaring high in Big Ten Conference action. They beat Murray State 45-38 and remain in the hunt for an at-large bid in the FCS playoffs with that 6-3 record and also ranked in the top 25. Speaking of at-large bids, Southeast Louisiana will be looking to make their first trip to the FCS playoffs and in a good position to do so thanks to a 38-21 win over the Furman Paladins. Southeastern is now 7-3, and if they can win next week, I feel pretty good about their chances to get an at-large bid. But it is not all smooth sailing for the top 25 teams out there, as Tennessee Tech is going to take a shocking loss to the Eastern Illinois Panthers. Eastern Illinois wins 41-24 as Tennessee Tech sees their FCS playoff hopes get greatly diminished with this loss. There's no more room for error. And finally, to round out the Week 12 action, we got New Hampshire going on the road to take on the Pirates of Hampton in ACC play. But New Hampshire, they got their run for their money, as New Hampshire only wins by 5. They do get to 8-1 and sets up an epic battle with James Madison here in the near future. But as we get into the last few weeks of the regular season, San Diego State, they are certainly getting a lot of love, even though they did end up losing a regular season game earlier this year. But we'll see events reflected in the newest Sports Illustrated magazine. We're going to check that top 25 polls now, see what we got going on in there. And the top 5 does end up being the same. We do see Georgia Southern at number 1, followed by Utah State, Akron, New Hampshire, and Southern rounding out that top 5. But then after that, we start seeing some changes. We do see North Dakota State move up 1 spot to number 6 after their big win against the Portland State Vikings. Eastern Kentucky moves up 1 spot as well after they took care of business against Youngstown State. San Diego State moves up a couple of spots, and we should see them in the playoffs. They did get that automatic berth for the Mountain West Conference. But now going into the outside of that first round bye range, we still have a lot of very good teams. Sam Houston State is one of them. They took care of business against App State. Southeast Missouri State is also in there as well. They're now in the top 10. Followed by Portland State, who does move down 5 spots, even though they lost just by a field goal to North Dakota State. So a little bit too far of a drop in my opinion, but that is what the pollster decided. James Madison is back in the top 12. They are now sitting at number 12 in the country thanks to their field goal victory over South Carolina State. Western Carolina also moving up a spot as well. Going into the second half of the AP Top 25, though, we got Central Michigan at 14. Southeastern at number 15. They won against Furman in conference play. Eastern Carolina was on bye, but they're in a good spot to make the playoffs. Ohio's in a great spot as well. They're number 17 in the nation. They are 8-1 right now, looking to run the east of the MAC Conference. Now, a huge dropper in this week's AP poll, though, is Sacramento State. They are now 6-3, and they are having some problems at the quarterback position. Just have not been healthy, but they do get their starting quarterback back. They did lose to Eastern Washington. Also, just hanging in there in the top 25 is Kent State. They're at 7-2. Samford at number 20 with their free touchdown win over Western Kentucky. Tennessee Martins at 21. They had barely beat Murray State. And some teams that are not ranked at the moment but were included in the poll. Eastern Washington's now at number 22. Northern Arizona is back at number 23 in the country. And then we do also see Eastern Michigan sneak in as well. They're back in with Texas Southern, the last team in the AP Top 25. Other teams that are also receiving votes as well that we'll definitely be watching out for in this late push to the playoffs. Western Kentucky from the Big Ten, Alcorn State of the Big 12, Tennessee Tech, who did end up dropping out. They are one of the teams to do that. And then a team that has not made the playoffs yet this year, Hofstra, the Hofstra Pride. They have not made a single playoff appearance in this series, but they are in a decent position to make that happen and get that first playoff appearance here in year number 4. As for the NCAA Players of the Week, we start with the offensive side of the football. Jesse Young, he had a pretty good day against Central Florida. He ends up with a phenomenal day through the air, 21 for 27, 500 yards of passing, and 5 touchdowns to go with it. He was the ultimate difference maker that does keep SMU alive, at least for that Conference USA automatic bid. They will need to win in their next game in order to solidify those chances. But on the defensive side of football, we got the Sanford Bulldogs. Eric Smith, the outside linebacker, who is in his junior year. Yes, his defense did give up 34 points, most of which happening in the first quarter of the game, but he had a good performance in this one. 4 tackles, half of which were behind the line of scrimmage, and those 2 TFLs were both sacks as well. He did force a fumble, and he also managed to get a defensive touchdown, was part of that huge roar to get back into the game, and ultimately winning pretty convincingly against Western Kentucky. So congratulations to Eric Smith in what could very well save Samford's FCS playoff hopes. They're still looking for their first bid. So guys, we really only have a couple full weeks left before we start really getting ready for FCS playoff action. It's starting to heat up every single waking moment. So you're not going to want to miss a single thing, as next episode we will have week number 13 action here in year number 4 of the FCS Dynasty. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me, as that does help me out with the YouTube algorithm. And this video did take a lot of work to do, so I really would appreciate that. And shoot, if you're brand new to the channel as well, you like what you're seeing, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be brand spanking new. But with that, this is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, and I will come back to you guys next time with week number 13 action here. But until then, I hope you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.